Hey there everyone, this is Andrew. I'm one of your Form LAs, and today I'm going to show you how to create your espresso cup with a specific volume in OnShape. You've seen this example in SketchUp, and it's a little bit different in OnShape. It's actually a little bit more of a lot different in OnShape, because we're going to tackle this from a different workflow perspective. So let's start by creating a new document. Let's call this Cup Volume Example. Create our public document. Now the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to change our scene or our workspace units in OnShape. And this matters because essentially we're designing this cup around 60 milliliters. So we want it to be able to hold 60 milliliters worth of water or coffee. Please don't pour boiling coffee into your your 3D print. It will melt. But you're going to fill it with water, and you want to make sure that it fits the right amount of water. So to do this, we're going to start by going to this little menu icon up here. I think it's kind of like a hamburger, so we're going to call it the hamburger. We're going to go to our Workspace Units tab, and then instead of inches as this length default unit, I'm going to hit centimeter. You may ask, Andrew, you just said we needed milliliters. Well, a cubic centimeter is the same thing as a milliliter. And when we get to our volume evaluation a little later, you're going to see that it's going to express this in cubic centimeters. So as long as we have around 60 cubic centimeters, we're golden. So let's hit OK. Now normally during this kind of assignment, or like last week's assignment, you would create a new sketch and you would name it Cup Profile. I'm just going to call it Cup Profile. And you would select this as the sketch plane, and then you may align your view to the front. And then, you'll start drawing your cup. So you'll draw the inside of the cup. And this is a terrible cup. This is a very angular cup. And you draw the outside, and you draw the foot and what have you. You draw this kind of shape, and then you connect it. And you've got a face. You've got something that you could revolve or sweep, and it would be a solid object. And we're not going to do that this time. We're going to start by only modeling the inside of the cup. Now, you may ask why. Well, this is essentially the area that's going to hold the water, which means that once we model this, we can model the water that's going to be in there and determine how many cubic centimeters of water this cup can fit. So we're not worrying about any of the exterior geometry right now. We're just going to hit Control-Z, Control-Z, Control-Z until we get nothing, because that was ugly to begin with. Now let's create a new line. This is, again, only the interior geometry. We're going to create it at the origin, going out a little bit, and then we're going to create a 3-point arc to make a nice, simple little cup. Look at that. That's pretty good. So we've got this. We don't need anything else in this sketch right now. Now what we're going to add is another sketch on this front plane, and it's going to be really simple. It's just a line going from the origin up some arbitrary distance, and you can hit escape to exit that little sketch mode. Now with this line, I'm going to hit Q, or I can hit this icon up here. That turns it into a construction line. Now this is not strictly necessary, but I have found that construction lines are very helpful when working in something like OnShape. And I say that because a construction line is essentially a guideline for something else that you're going to do. It's a reference. It's something you can know. You're not going to model with this. You're going to use this to model, if that makes any sense. So I'm going to rename this as reference. Pretty arbitrary, or pretty non-specific, but that's okay. So I'm going to hit OK. Now we've got our line down the middle here, and you may have noticed I didn't draw a circle. I'm going to show you another way to make a cup without drawing a circle. You can still draw a circle and sweep it if you want, but this is, I think, a more efficient way to do this within OnShape. We have our line, we have our cup profile. We're going to do a revolve. A revolve is basically a sweep, but guaranteed that it's going to go around some kind of circular path through an axis. So we're going to hit revolve. And it's probably going to have you start with solid revolve, which means that you can't click anything here. Nothing works, nothing clicks. That's because nothing's solid here. There's no faces. There's no filled in area that you could then revolve and make a solid object. Nothing is going to be solid as a result of this. Not yet, at least. So instead, we're going to do surface. And we're going to hit our 2 lines here. And then we're going to hit our construction line. And look at that. We've got a little cup. This served as a reference for it to rotate around. And now if we hit OK, we have got an infinitely thin-walled bowl. Now, to actually model the water and the volume of which this bowl of water inside of our cup is going to occupy, we're going to go to Search Tools, because I have no idea where this is in the menu, and we're going to do Fill. Now, after clicking Fill, we're going to click the outside edge of our kind of bowl on the top here, and it's simply going to fill it in. And you may notice we now have a solid object. We hit OK. Look at that. We've got like a drum thing. If you patted on this, it would make a noise. But the important thing is that this is airtight or watertight, or it's tight. There's nothing coming in and out of this if you did pour something into it. So now we're just going to measure exactly how many cubic centimeters are in here. And this is really simple. There's a little scale icon down in the bottom here, which we're going to click. And we set our units right, so this should be fine. And we're just going to hit, for parts to measure, this. And you can say that that is way too small. That's 8.182 centimeters. That's way too small for our espresso cup. That's like if you had the most concentrated coffee on the planet. But we want more than that. We want 60. So we're going to take note of that value. I've prepared a little equation over here. And I want this to equal exactly 60. So I'm going to say 8.182 equals x cubed equals 60. And we can see that that value is right about 1.94. Now, this is important. Let's go to OnShape. We know this value now. We have our scale value. I'll give you a hint. This is our scale value. And if we were to go to the scale tool, which is hidden within the transform tool, and we were to hit our object, and we were to hit, or if we were to go to this little menu, and instead of translate, we want it to scale. And if we were to say point or make connector, we're just going to say the origin. This is the point of which it's going to scale around. And I say 1.94, and we say okay. It's a lot bigger, but that means that if we measure it again, it's 60. That's 59.738. That's because I missed a decimal place or two. But it's 60. We've got a 60 milliliter area in here that we can then model around. So this is great. We've established exactly how big the inside of our cup needs to be. So we can click out of this, and this is where it gets fun, because we've done our homework. Oh, I accidentally clicked these two. You can just click outside of here, and it'll get rid of it. So now we're going to redraw our cup profile, but we're going to leave these two as they are. And it looks a lot smaller because it is a lot smaller, because the transform was applied over here. We haven't applied the transform yet. We've gone back in time and made the cup profile something else. So I'm just going to draw a really, really simple cup profile here. I'm just going to draw this little guy, and it's going to go like this. And then I'm going to, I think there's an offset tool up here. Offset? Yeah. I'm just going to draw this and maybe offset it to like where it connects with here, although I don't know if it actually connected. It didn't. So I'm going to make it a little smaller. Maybe it needs to be that much. That's still too big. The point is, I undid that, and maybe now instead I can draw the 3-point arc. There we go. That's a lot better. And let's make a simple cup. Let's draw our line going to the bottom. This is the lip. And then let's draw an arc coming from this point up into the middle that does something like this. And remember, now that we're going to actually start modeling this as a solid, we need to draw a line going from here to here to close up this face. Now, if we hit OK, you can see, whoa, our cup is still here. Our volume is still here. Nothing has changed. Well, that's because we need to do a different thing with our revolve. Instead of revolving these edges as a surface, we now need to revolve this area as a volume. And look at that. We've got a cup. We hit OK. The fill is angry because there's nothing to fill anymore. That's okay. We don't need it. We can delete that. And the transform still exists, such that if we were to look at the inside of this area, it would still be 60 milliliters.